Welcome, Sacred Soul. Welcome to another offering in my Divine Union series, a space that is devoted to the sacred art of becoming whole. Here we explore what it truly means to unify the inner masculine and feminine, not just in concept, but in embodiment. So before we dive deeper into exploring the sacred expressions of your own inner masculine and feminine, and what balance really looks like, and how to anchor this union into your daily life, I want to take a moment for a pause to speak of the fire, because in order to embody the sacred and the divine inner masculine and inner feminine energies within you, first, the density, it needs to be released. The wounding, it needs to be alchemized. And before inner union can become possible, first comes the unravelling. And before the balance, there is the burning. So this post, it is a devotion to the initiations through fire which you must travel. It's gritty, it's painful, it's soul forging, but these are passages that you are required to take in order to truly rise. You see, when you say yes to the call of your own soul, when you choose to rise into your own sovereignty, your own wholeness and your own divinity, you are saying yes to the most difficult path that you will ever walk. It's not easy, it's not linear, and it's not soft. It is a path of deep descent and of resurrection, of being broken open again and again until the parts of you that clung to illusion are completely burned down to the bone. So this is why many people awaken after experiencing a profound loss, after trauma, after devastation. Because pain, it clears the veil. It invites the sacred within. So as you walk the path to your own inner union and sovereignty, you will be tested over and over and over again. Will you choose love even when your heart is shattered? Will you choose light even when darkness tries to pull you down? And will you hold your center not by bypassing the storm, but by anchoring yourself within the eye of it? This is initiation and activation by fire, and it is only through the ashes that inner union can be born. It's not in the soft light of ease and spiritual bypassing, but in the holy, relentless heat of your own becoming. So if you're in the flames, take heart. You're not lost, you're not broken, you're being initiated. And when you rise from it, you won't just be balanced, you will be sovereign. Inner union, it is not pink, fluffy love and light. It's much more than self-care rituals, rose petals on your altar, and crystal grids on your shelf. It is a holy fire, a sacred burn that doesn't just cleanse, it annihilates. It dismantles the false, the illusion, the ego. The rise into your own inner divine union, which is the reunion of your inner masculine and feminine energies. It truly is not a pretty process. It's shamanic, it's raw, it's primal, it's somatic. It asks everything of you. And when you are feeling completely broken, it then asks more from you. So this is the path of the alchemist. It is not for the dreamer. So you don't get to meet your inner sacred masculine until you have faced the distorted one. The one who abandoned you, silenced you, overruled your intuition, or ran from the weight of responsibility. And you don't get to embody your divine feminine until you have wept with the wounded one, the one who performed for love, who collapsed into codependency, who sacrificed her truth and burned herself at the altar of being enough. You see, the fire, it initiates you by stripping you down. Each fire that you walk through, it doesn't just hurt, it disorients. You question your sanity, you question your purpose, you question whether you're even on a spiritual path, or maybe you're just losing yourself to another illusion. But here's the secret that most spiritual spaces don't tell you. This confusion, that is the initiation. This is the dismantling of your false identity. The fire, it comes for every mask that you hold, every story, every belief, every trauma response, and every attachment that is not in service to your soul. It strips the inner masculine of his armor and of his false bravado. It melts the inner feminine's people-pleasing and turns it into sacred rage and unapologetic embodiment. This is not linear. There are days that you will rise in full radiance, and there'll be nights that you'll crawl completely broken through the shadow. The oscillations, the contractions and the expansions, they are not a sign that you're failing. They are proof that the alchemy is working. There's always a deep descent before reaching sovereignty. You don't reach inner union by bypassing your pain. You reach it by letting the pain speak, by holding sacred grief for yourself, for all the grief that you were never allowed to feel because others invalidated your feelings, by inviting sacred rage to rise for all the times that you were silenced, dismissed, and your boundaries were disregarded, by choosing to stay present with the wound long enough to feel it metabolize within your cells. Each descent, it dissolves another layer of density in the body, and it pulls another shard of your soul out of hiding. Each return, it is richer, it is deeper, and it is more anchored in truth. Each return is a little closer to your own sovereignty. This is the soul's apprenticeship. Fire after fire, layer after layer. It goes on until you have enough density removed from your body that you can see with a little more clarity the truth. It may not be clear, you will still wobble, but you will see the path that leads to your own peace, truth, and wholeness. And where sovereignty is no longer a concept, it's a frequency that you embody. The place within you where your inner masculine holds you in safety and your inner feminine, she trusts him enough to soften. So the true magic, it happens in the reckoning. So the beautiful thing about walking the path of reckoning, of sacred remembering, is that the universe, it dances with you. The divine, it never leaves you stranded. in the wilderness without a light. At first, the signs are subtle. You might start to see the same numbers over and over. It might be 1111, 222, 333, 444. These are little winks from the universe, nudging you to keep going forward, reminding you that you are not alone. And then the synchronicities, they begin to increase. The right conversation lands. The perfect YouTube video appears. A podcast, a lyric, a stranger's passing phrase, all answering the very question that you've been holding in your heart. This is when the veil thins and the magic begins to seep through the cracks. You'll start to believe in miracles, not the grand cinematic kind, but in the quiet starbursts of magic that flicker in the spaces between the breakdowns. An angel might visit you in a dream. A wolf walks beside you in your meditations. Fairies may inspire you to spend more time in nature. A unicorn invites you to play more. A dragon breathes courage into your chest, or a shamanic warrior shows you how to rise. And as the density begins to lift from your system, your energetic body begins to awaken. You may feel it as heat pulsing through your heart, maybe a swirl of coolness at your crown, a hum of electricity in your root chakra. Maybe there are tingles, expansions, vibrations that ripple through your body and your heart space. These aren't symptoms to fear. They are remembrances. They are signs that the old is burning away and that your energetic body is coming back online. As more light pours into your system, you'll become more attuned to the unseen. So your intuition will sharpen. You will begin to feel truth. You will read the soul signatures of the people around you. You dream more vividly of other timelines, other realms. You receive visions, whispers, insights from places beyond logic. This is the alchemy of fire. And as the density it melts, your system, it makes room for higher frequencies to land into your body. These are what some people call light code activations. They don't just make you feel better, they restructure you. They upgrade your body, your nervous system, your mind. They recalibrate your thoughts, your emotions, your physical body, and even your sense of time and self. And you begin to rise, not just spiritually, but cellularly. However, and this is vital, with the more light that you bring into your body, also comes more resistance. So as you anchor into a higher vibration, you may find yourself under what's called spiritual attack. So fear may rise out of nowhere. You may have bad dreams or maybe feel darker energies around you. People may start to project, sabotage, distort, or betray you more than you've ever experienced. Your mind, it may try to convince you to shrink back down to your old self, to go back to the numbness that you once called your safety. This is what is called spiritual warfare. It's not one of physical swords and fighting, but it's of frequencies and choices. So light and dark, they exist in all of us. It exists in the entire universe around us, not as enemies, but as forces to be alchemized. So we are not here to destroy the dark. We are here to integrate it, to transmute it, to birth a new frequency where duality becomes divinity. So this is not about perfection. This is about finding the power to choose love over fear, choose the light over the darkness, the true embodied kind, where your inner union becomes a fortress and your soul becomes the flame that never goes out. I want to share a story, one from the depths of my own alchemical path. I share it in the hope that parts of it resonate with you and help you on your own alchemical path. Since April 2023, I have been walking the fire path, a journey that began with a sudden and undeniable Kundalini rising. And since then, I've passed through initiations that I could never have imagined. Ego deaths, dark nights of the soul, and the tearing away of all that I thought I was. There were days that I could barely breathe. There were moments where I was barely holding on. As nighttime fell and I tried to sleep, I struggled for about 18 months to get any sleep as I watched everything I believe in just slowly dissolve into shadow. And yet, here I am, still in the fire, still becoming. But here's the thing, over time, I have learnt to track my oscillations, the contractions, the descents. And as they rise and fall, they don't shock me like they used to. They don't knock me out the same way, but they still arrive, these sacred storms clearing the old. There are moments in our lives that don't just mark a shift, they mark a death of who we were, of what we believed, of what we were willing to orbit in the name of love. A few nights ago, I met one of these moments. An oscillation came in like a tidal wave, uninvited but right on time. A descent into the underworld. It started with a trigger, a flicker of old pain rising from the body, and then the wave hit, grief, but not just sadness. This was sacred grief. Grief for all the times that I let people walk past my boundaries like they were not even there, for the betrayals that I absorbed in silence, for the parts of me that I allowed to be dimmed through the projections of others, by their distortions, their fears, and their takings. So like you, I am someone who seeks harmony. I've never needed to be the loudest person, never felt the need for a win by taking from others. I've always believed that if I showed up with kindness, with integrity, the people would do the same. But I've learned that that was a little naive, and that not everyone plays fair in the field of light. And so that's when the vision came. I saw myself at a picnic, a lush green forest clearing that was dappled in sunlight. I had laid everything out with love. There was fresh fruit, wildflowers, and this giant cake that I had purchased for everybody to share. It was the best kind of cake, chocolate caramel, 3 tiers. It was velvety with all the finest details. But some of the people I invited, the ones that I thought were my friends, they were not happy with just the one slice that I had generously given them. They wanted more, so they also took my slice. Then they took my plate, my cutlery, my glass, and I watched as it was happening in slow motion, a little baffled and confused. And they looked me in the eye as they took from me, as if I should still be smiling, as if they were entitled to what is mine and that I had no place to disagree. All I wanted was a moment of beauty, a gathering in nature with kindness, sunshine, rainbows, butterflies. But instead, I watched myself go hungry while others feasted on the softness of my spirit. This vision hit me hard because it was more than a vision. It was a sacred mirror. And in that moment, something deeply shifted within me. I let myself feel what no one ever gave me permission to feel: the ache, the betrayal, the loss of innocence. I didn't bypass it. I felt it. I didn't dress it up in spiritual platitudes. I just let it rise like smoke from ancient embers. Because if no one else was going to hold that grief with reverence, I knew I had to. So I offered it to myself like a prayer, a recognition, a reckoning. And in doing so, I reclaimed a part of me that I had long forgotten. The grief became my initiation. It became my activation. The fire, it became my teacher. And my hunger, it became a knowing. I am no longer here to feed others from my own starvation. The next picnic that I host, yes, it will be sacred, but only this time I won't forget to serve myself first. So up until this realization or remembrance, I had been living with a pain that I couldn't explain, an ache that pulsed through my chest like a slow betrayal. I kept asking myself why. Why people, especially those that I gave so much love, kindness and space to, continued to keep hurting me. Why would they sabotage my name, distort my truth, and treat my generosity like something disposable? I didn't even expect much from them in return. I just wanted to share, to connect, and to offer them anything that I had to give. So this particular oscillation, that was a reckoning. It was the kind of darkness that makes the air feel thick, the kind that whispers questions like, how do I keep living in a world like this? What's the point of loving when it hurts so much? I was oscillating so hard that I could barely catch my breath. So I decided to take myself into the wilderness, alone, no noise, no distractions, just me, the earth, and the ache within. And that night, a dark energy came. I could feel it around me. It wasn't just psychological, it was energetic, ancestral, heavy. It was trying to scare me, hijack my peace, and make me forget who I was. It was trying to make me bow to the fear. But thanks to the alchemy that I have done over the past few years, something ancient rose within me. My dark masculine energy appeared. This has been an energy that I have currently been working with recently. And he appeared not as a man, but as an energy within me, fierce, unshakable, with a sword in hand. And he stood beside me and he said, "The divine is always with you, and when you choose the light, you are always divinely protected. You are not prey, you are power. So stay in the light, stay in the high frequency, shift the field." And he encouraged me to put on some high frequency music, to cocoon myself in my bed covers and just trust that all would be okay. So I obeyed, not from fear, but from clarity and from trust. I played the music, I breathed, and I fell asleep in the arms of something greater than fear. And at dawn, I woke up with this warmth in my chest. It was not metaphorical, it was physical. It was a steady, flickering flame inside my heart. It wasn't a heart pull, it wasn't a heart activation or a soul ache. It was a candle of power. It was alive, it was gentle, and it was unwavering. I felt the candle flickering in my heart. I felt the warmth feeding my cells. I felt different. I felt a little stronger, more steady. And I knew that I had been tested, that my sovereignty was tested that night, and that I had finally crossed a sacred threshold. So the flame within my heart, it was not a gift from the outside. It was a resurrection from within. It was one of the gifts that we get when we choose to walk the alchemical path of rising into our own inner union. It meant that I no longer needed to orbit other people's shadows in order to feel safe. I no longer sought kindness in places that could not offer it. I no longer collapsed into longing for love and acceptance. I became the love. I remembered that I wasn't the innocent white rabbit being chased by the foxes. I was the wolf. I chose sovereignty over suffering, and I remembered I am the flame. This is the moment the inner union rises, not as a reaction, not as a performance, but as a deep embodiment of truth. It's an invitation to walk forward with both softness and fire, not to be chosen, but to choose yourself. So inner union isn't a moment, it's an ever deepening choice. It's the ability to stand in your wholeness even when life falls apart, to anchor in self-trust even when the world gaslights your truth, to speak with love and fire even when it shakes the room, to rise from the ashes of each death, not as someone new, but as someone remembered. This is the sacred marriage, not of gender, not of roles, but of essence. The healed masculine, he builds the altar. The healed feminine becomes the flame. Together they create a sovereign soul that no longer seeks outside itself, a soul that no longer orbits other people's shadows, but one that is the center of its own field. And in its embodiment, it magnetizes towards itself its highest abundance. So if you are burning, that is good. If you are unravelling, say yes. And if you're lost and breaking and barely holding on, know that you're closer than you think. So keep walking. The fire isn't here to destroy you. It's here to return you to yourself. And if you are in the ache, if you are curled up on the floor asking why life keeps hurting you, if you've given everything and still feel unseen, know this: you are not breaking. You are burning off the illusion. You are not meant to orbit their pain. You are meant to light your own way. So go into the wilderness, call on the sword, put on the music, sleep under the stars, and let the darkness visit, and let it leave empty-handed. Because the flame inside you, it cannot be stolen. It is ancient, it is sacred, and once it lights, you never forget who you are again. And so it is.